Welcome to High Heels and Lipstick Conversations, the space where grown-ass women get real, get inspired, and get empowered. Where confidence meets class and real talk meets real women. Where we celebrate the power, resilience, and beauty of womanhood. I'm your host, Nemia Carnese, your sister in style, success, and soulful conversations. This podcast is for my seasoned ladies, the women who've been there, done that, and are still stepping strong. From career moves to self-care, from relationships to reinvention, we keep it real, we keep it classy, and we always keep it fly. Whether you're strutting through life in stilettos or conquering the world with a bold red lip, this is your go-to for inspiration, sisterhood, and unfiltered conversation. Now go grab your wine, your coffee, or your tea, because this is High Heels and Lipstick Conversation. And we got some grown woman talk to do, y'all. And don't forget to like, share, and hit the subscribe button. Let's go. Hey, this is your girl, Nemia Carnese. Come on in the room. I see a couple people in here. Come on into the room and enter his gates with Thanksgiving. It is your girl, Nemia Carnese. We are here for another episode of High Heels and Lipstick Conversation. Listen, this is the place where grown women have grown women conversation. We discuss topics that are significant to us as women. This is a dynamic podcast in that we are designed for women, particularly women over 40. Who are now just embracing their wisdom. They're embracing their power. They're embracing their beauty. They're embracing their age. And it's High Heels and Lipstick Conversation. We're finally walking in High Heels and Lipstick Conversation. So welcome to those of you who have joined us. I see folks coming into the room. I appreciate your presence on this evening. If this is your first time catching a High Heels and Lipstick Conversation episode, the way that we show love is that we put some kissy lips in the chat. We put some high heels in the chat. We put some lipsticks in the chat. If your brother's checking in, a man checking in, you could put some fists up in the air in the chat just to check in and let us know that you are here. It's been a couple weeks since I've been before you. Listen, we were supposed to come before you on at the beginning of May with this topic that we're going to dig into on tonight, booked and busy, and we got some good conversation for you on tonight. But I was tired, y'all. Listen, I was tired. I had the pleasure of going and participating in a Delta Authors on Tour event in Arizona. And it was a really great event. It was a really blessed event. And so I got an opportunity to showcase my book, both books actually, but the featured book was 7 Lessons for Her, which I'm going to show you how you can purchase one of my books before we leave on today. And just talk a little bit about the book. I got to soak up some Arizona sun. I got to meet some ladies from the far west. So it was a good time. It was a blessed time. And I sold out all my books. Listen, I don't brag on myself. Often. I'm not a braggadocious person. However, I feel really proud that I was able to participate in that event. And then I sold out all of my books. So the Lord is working, y'all. The Lord is working. So listen, come on and check in. I see a few people that have come in. Are y'all watching the Diddy trial? Are y'all staying connected to what's going on with Diddy? Listen, so this is not a podcast that does celebrity gossip. So I don't want to even put that out in the atmosphere that this is a platform where we are into celebrity gossip. I may touch on subjects that, are trending at the time. And right now, the Diddy trial happens to be trending, and it is triggering for me. And I had to admit to myself that it was triggering for me. And I'm gonna tell you why. Hey, Cheryl, thank you. Thank you. Congratulations. She says, congratulations. Thank you. I appreciate it. And then our good sis as well, Christine, checks in and sends her kissy lips. Two of my good girlfriends, my sister girls. Thank y'all for checking in. But I have been triggered by Diddy. And I'll preface this with saying that if he walks away from this trial and does not do any jail time, I won't be necessarily upset about it. I don't have any fight in the game, whether he goes to prison or he does time or anything. I think Diddy is being humbled at this time. I don't think that, and these are just my opinions because I've been checking into the trial. There's a part of it that's triggering for me because people don't understand the psychology, the psychological effects of domestic violence. People are very uneducated about domestic violence and how it works. And I've been in that arena for a lot of my young adult life, volunteering my time at shelters, um, you know, mentoring women. I had a ministry at one time that was dedicated to women who were survivors of domestic violence. And there are a lot of layers to domestic violence, and people do not understand it. And so they make opinions, thoughts, about whether or not Cassie was, she was a willing participant, or was she abused? Do I think she was a willing participant? At some point, yeah, she was. She was going for the riches, the fame, so on and so forth. But I do think she was in a situation where she was being abused and she was being manipulated and controlled, and she got into something that a world that she was not ready for as a young woman. And I think back to my own time as a young woman, being 20, 21, and making some horrible mistakes and being naive and not having a sense of discernment. And it would be easy for any young woman who, um, didn't have a sense of herself to get caught up in that lifestyle, the riches and the fame. It would be easy for any woman. So I know how abuse works. I know how abusers work. Like I said, I don't have any fight in the game, whether Diddy goes to jail or prison or does time. But I do think he abused that young girl and he manipulated the situation. And I think God is showing him a lesson in being humble. And sometimes we need those lessons. So that's just my thought on the Diddy stuff. Listen, go grab your glass of wine, your drink. Christine says, I agree with you 100%. Yes, yes, I do think Diddy was abusive, and he took advantage. The industry took advantage of Cassie, and I just think it's sad. And she has. I'm hoping she has gotten the care, the therapy, and everything that she's needed to get past and beyond that trauma, because that's a trauma that sticks with you for a long time, and you will have triggers. Okay, so anywho, okay, let's move on. So that's going on. The Diddy situation. Thank you. Black Writer Space says congrats and thank you. Um, we have a very good topic on tonight. And I'm gonna bring my guest up in just a short minute here. But I want to share some leads into the conversation. And as you are checking in, as folks are checking in, the way that we check in is we put some hearts in the chat, we put some kissy lips in the chat, some high heels. So let us know you are here and you are ready to be a part of this conversation. Please like, subscribe, and share. If you are checking in on Facebook from one of the podcast page, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and also share. If you're on YouTube, please do the same. I am trying to grow my community, okay? And so I need your help in helping me to grow my community. I'm also going to show you how you could be a part of my community if this is your first time checking in, and enter for a chance to win. But I'll tell you all about that at the end. But I get sidetracked. So let me go back. So in Arizona, the day after I came back from Arizona, I was supposed to come before you guys and talk a little bit about this, but I decided that I needed some rest. Okay. So that's my lead in into the conversation that we're having. What I have learned over maybe the past year, maybe 2 years, especially for the year 2024, is how important rest becomes to your mental health. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And one thing that often weighs heavily for us as Black women is our need to always be achieving something. Okay. Our need to always be booked and busy and not taking time to rest from a mental point. We have been groomed in busyness, especially for us as Black women, and I want to dissect that a little bit because again, this is Mental Health Awareness Month, and there's a trend. If you are TikTokers, if you visit TikTok very often, there's a trend that's growing on TikTok about Black women and trauma response. And you have all of these women speaking out about their own personal trauma response and how often being booked, achieving high powered job, all this education was off. What they found was a blocking some of the traumas that they had developed over time. And it made me think about my own traumas, my own personal achievements, and had there been ever a time in my life where I stayed booked and busy to overcome trauma? And obviously they have. There has been times. I want to preface this conversation by saying, and I'm sure Dr. Trevaughn, when she comes on, will agree that this is not an indictment for women who are looking to further advance in their careers academically from an educational standpoint. This is not um, a slap at those women who are looking to achieve. If God has called you to get that degree, to go higher in your career, whatever you're looking to set out to achieve, do that, sis. Go and do that. Okay. But also understand your reasonings for doing that and why you're looking to achieve. So we're going to dissect a whole lot on this evening. um Dr. Randolph says mental health awareness. It is, yes, Mental Health Awareness Month. So we're going to dissect a whole lot. And to lead into this conversation, I'm going to tell you a little bit about our guests, and then I want to show you a video. And after I show the video, the next voice that you will hear that will be before you is Dr. Trevaughn. But Dr. Trevaughn Davis-Neal has over 13 years of experience as a therapist, a clinical supervisor, and a coach. I know her personally, so I feel a little biased in that I know her beyond her profession, but she's great at her profession. She's a licensed clinical social worker, licensed in both Indiana and Illinois. In addition to being CEO of Nzinga Mind and Heart, and we'll share her social media information at the end. She is also a lecturer at National Louis University, honored as one of the most influential women in Northwest Indiana by Mom to Mom magazine. She was also recognized as a professional to watch by Northwest Indiana Times, Indiana Business magazine. Dr. Trevaughn and her dedicated therapists are committed to helping individuals and families achieve their goals. Our trauma informed team specializes in treating anxiety, depression, trauma, PTSD, compassion fatigue, grief, and other mental health or behavioral concerns. So I could not have this conversation by myself. I needed to have this conversation with a professional. Thank you for checking in. Creating with Tuck, thank you. She says hello, everyone. Thank you for being here on this evening. So before we bring on Dr. Trevaughn, I do want to share. So bear with me. I want to share a video. And this is kind of what prompted me in this conversation on that we're getting ready to have on this evening, and also got me to thinking about my own, personal path and how I probably have been driven to overachieve as a trauma response. So bear with me. I'm going to share my screen and just share this video.
Men aren't going to college. Let's have an aha moment about what led you to getting all these degrees that you got. And why, in spite of all these degrees, you're still struggling in relationships. You're still struggling in friendships. And you're still struggling to take care of yourself. Come talk to me. Come work with me. Because the emotional and physical freedom that you're looking for ain't in them degrees. But I created something specifically for you. So drop a heart in the comments if this resonates.
Black women will have depression and then go get a master's degree.
Okay, ladies, but can we talk about it? Because while that study, I think, inaccurately depicted why Black men are struggling with education, there's a reason why some of y'all got the degrees that you got. Black women are more likely to engage in high-functioning depression and overachievement as a trauma response. And that's essentially emotional avoidance, where striving for success and being booked and busy is really an escape of emotional pain. Some of us have used education as a path to worthiness and safety. So somewhere along the line, which I will tell you where, we've internalized that achievement means worthiness. And that often stems from childhood neglect, childhood trauma, and even racialized gender expectations. So this overachievement can likely be rooted in the desire to gain safety, control, and validation because we didn't have it earlier in life. And another thing, Black women facing unprocessed emotional pain may very well adopt a hyper-independent and ambitious attitude. But oftentimes it's just a way for us to protect ourselves emotionally. So while some of us are having these aha moments about why men aren't going to college, let's have an aha moment about what led you to getting all these degrees that you got.
Yeah. Yes. Reactions to that. Reactions to that. We're going to talk about it. I want you to be a part of this conversation on this evening. Let me bring to the stage my girl, Dr. Trevaughn Davis-Neal. How are you on this evening? You're getting some love in the chat already. Hey, Cheryl says, hey, Doc. Hey, Cheryl. Dr. Trevaughn. Christine is checking in. Thank you, ladies, for checking in again. So welcome, Dr. Welcome to the couch. This is the couch. This is the High Heels and Lipstick Conversations couch. I have read a little bit about your bio. We have saw the video. Tiara says, hi, sorors. And we need your expertise on this evening. This is a conversation that I think is necessary. Again, we want to preface it with saying that this is not an indictment on women, Black women in particular, who are looking to achieve success in certain areas. Mm-hmm. But you said something that was very, very crucial behind the scenes about what we should be thinking about in our drive to succeed. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Okay. But let's start here first. Where would you say the mindset to be booked and busy comes from? Like, how did we, and when I say we, specifically Black women, because there's, a variety of reasons, but what would you say from your perspective and what you have seen, because you counsel a lot of young women, where does the mindset typically come from?
Sure. So let me just affirm what Nemia shared. This might not be your segment of the message. So please know that if God has given you a vision and you guys have had that, that business meeting and he has told you what you need to be doing, mm-hmm. Do it.
Yes.
Do it.
By all means.
Do it. Okay. Let's go. Okay. So get that done. That said, to answer your question, I think the response comes from what I've seen and in my experience, multiple places, not just one place. Mm-hmm. So it could be trauma.
Could be trauma.
It could be, and some of this will still fall under the umbrella of trauma. But experiences, conversations that you've either overheard or somebody's had directly with you. Maybe you have been in a relationship or your self-esteem hasn't been fully developed, or there are some issues in your self-esteem and your self-image and what you feel about yourself. There are also individuals that I talk to where they have difficulty in saying no and setting boundaries and showing up for themselves, putting everybody first before themselves, and feeling like it's a luxury to be able to sit down, and they don't have time to sit down.
Right.
And so generally for that individual, I'll ask questions like, hey, what number are you and your siblings at? How many siblings do you have? And typically they are either the oldest girl or they're the oldest child. And so they were conditioned from the beginning, right? Where I had to take care of my siblings. You know, I was 9 and I had the key to the house and I had to let everybody in.
And I had to cook
school. My parents had to go to work, or my mom had to go to work, or, you know, maybe they were raised by a single dad. So I had to make sure homework got done. I had to season the chicken. I had to get the dishes washed, make sure my siblings weren't outside, and all those things. And then, right?
Yeah.
They had to do their homework and their chores and anything else that they had to do. So this idea of I don't have any time to rest because there are things to do, it can come from multiple places.
Yeah.
I think today in our discussion, because I'm hearing this topic, there was the video that you showed. I think this week or today I saw something posted from the Breakfast Club. They were kind of talking about this idea of hidden depression. From my perspective, I think this evening, if you allow me, I want to talk about defense mechanisms. Defense mechanisms and coping skills and how we learn how to cope.
And that in relation to being booked and busy.
It's a defense mechanism because sometimes the silence of just sitting and just being is too loud. And so there are things that come up, things that we remember, things that we don't want to deal with, things that we are avoiding. And if I am resting or sitting or I'm not actively engaged in something, then that gives me time to think about areas where I've fallen short, or I don't feel like I am enough, or I've done my best, or what so-and-so said to me, or, you know, why this person didn't choose me, or any of those things. And so that silence is so loud. I don't want to deal with that silence. So my defense mechanism, or how we've learned to cope with it, is that I need to be busy. Because if I'm doing something, I'm reading something, if I'm taking care of you, if I'm doing that, if I am working so much, I don't have time to stop and think about some of these other things that bother me.
Yeah, that's good stuff. So I wanna talk about it from this perspective. Having defense mechanisms, and some of the traumas that we face under the umbrella of being a Black woman. And I'm asking in this regard, here's a couple facts for us to know: that Black women in particular often experience unique challenges in responding to trauma due to intersecting factors like racism, sexism, and socioeconomic inequalities. They may be more likely to experience trauma or have multiple traumatic exposures and face barriers to accessing mental health services. Additionally, and this is what I want to kind of lead in as well, the strong Black woman stereotype can contribute to delays in seeking help. So in what you shared about sometimes we have these defense mechanisms, how much does our culture, us as Black women, play in the demise sometimes of our mental health, or our inabilities to effectively cope with trauma?
For sure. I mean, we can go back to, you know, slavery days. And we talked about my time that I spent in Ghana and being in those slave dungeons and what that
Mhm.
looked like, and specifically what the dungeons for women look like, and
Mhm.
whose room they were directly below,
Mhm.
and being in a space where you are literally handcuffed to other women in a dark space, and your daughter may be in that same space with you,
Yeah.
and you can hear them crying out, but you can't get to them, right?
Right.
And so being in that space helped me to see personally, like, I made it, right?
Yeah.
My ancestors made it because
Yeah.
I'm here.
Yeah.
My ancestors didn't make it. I would not be here. So it started way back then. So we, our ancestors that made it, right?
Right.
They didn't have time to rest.
Right. Yeah.
They needed to take care of the children. They needed to maybe take care of, master's children, and they needed to do it without their spouse or partner being there.
Yep.
They had to figure out how to get it done.
How to get it done.
So we figure out how to get it done. We are the fixers, right? And I didn't watch the show, but the Olivia Pope character of she was just a fixer from what I understand, right?
Yeah, she was.
Something came up. So we are fixers
by nature.
By nature, right?
By culture.
By culture, by nature.
Yeah.
And if we are given the grace of even, a few minutes to say, take a breath. You need to take a breath. You need to take care of yourself. You need to go to the doctor. You need to get that checked out so that you can be there for your family.
Yeah.
So that you can be there for your spouse or significant other. So that you can be there for your children or your parents or the church or your sorority and all those things. And I really want to get the message out that you need to take that break because you matter. Period.
Yeah. Period.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. And one thing I want to get clear, well, I'll say this. One thing I appreciate about the younger generation of women, because we're Gen Xers, and what the trend that I'm starting to see on TikTok are really younger women speaking out against being booked and busy, being just going, and not having a moment of rest. Times are changing. They're way more aware about their mental health priorities and way more aware than we were. We were taught to work, by our parents. You work and you work hard until you can't work anymore, and then you have time for everything else. So it's like you said, learned behavior.
Sure.
Very, very much learned behavior.
Survivor mindset.
Survivor mode. And then we got to a place where we were glorifying the strong Black woman, but to our detriment. And
Correct.
so this trend that's happening on social media, on TikTok, are women speaking out against the strong Black woman phenomenon.
It's a badge of honor.
Yeah.
It's like giving your girl a high five. Oh, you're booked and busy.
Yeah.
What about being whole and healed?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Or you ain't rested.
And recuperated.
Yeah.
Right? What about those things?
You ain't just had a day to just lay in your moo and watch TV and watch what you want on TV because you're so booked and busy. Yeah. So this is the audience participation question that I want to pose to you ladies, those who have checked in. But the question is, when did you first realize being busy was your default mode? When did you first realize being busy was your default mode? So check in with us and tell us your own experience. Darren says, seen as a we. Oh, she first said, I have not seen many barriers to accessing mental health services, but denial that mental health care is needed. That's so true. That's true because of the disparities, right? So oftentimes
it could be that. It could be our culture, our religious beliefs.
Our religious beliefs.
Right?
Yeah.
You need Jesus. Just pray about it.
Yeah.
And going on. And so, yep, you definitely need Jesus. You need the scriptures. You need his word. But you need a therapist too. We all do.
Also, how much can the prescribers or the medical professionals play a part in that? I think, that's kind of that intersectionality of, the inequities in the healthcare system.
For sure. And not being heard.
Yeah, not being heard.
The right questions are not being asked or when you're explaining, it's written off.
Yeah.
And then there's also the stigma even behind psychotropic medication. You know, I hear people say, well, I don't really want to be on that stuff because it changes you. Well, I mean, you're also smoking, you know, stuff every day, or taking a gummy, or drinking yourself into a stupor. So then there's that, right? So that's self-medicating. You're just choosing a different form of medication. It's a coping mechanism.
Yeah. So when did you first realize being busy was your default mode? Does any lady, what would you say? When was your, let's get into some personal, because again, this conversation is like so very needed for me. It's real for me. But when did you first realize that being booked and busy was?
So I'm a therapist. I train therapists for a living. And I have a therapist. So one day my therapist asked me, after letting me go on for 15 minutes straight without taking a break, of how exhausted I was and all these things. She was just like, oh, okay. She was like, well, who assigned you to do that?
Yeah.
And who assigned you to do that? And who made it your priority to do that? And who said, oh, it's just like, oh, right? And so then, because the answer was me, I was the one that did that assigning. But also, after being married for about 22 years, you know, we got the, I don't know if there's a 22-year itch, but there were some things going on and some conversations that need to be held, that need to be had, that I was avoiding. I can't have that conversation now. I have a 47-page paper that's due tomorrow. I can't deal with that situation right now. I have this going on. Man, I can't go and you know, do what I used to do, or teach Sunday school class, or, you know, be on the committee in my sorority, or because I have this other thing to do.
Right.
And so it took my therapist pointing that out to me, because she's like, well, why?
Yeah.
So it was once during my doctoral program, and then subsequently being in therapy. And then, you know, just, she put that mirror in front of my face. I was like, okay.
You're like, oh. So Jamaica says, hey, Jamaica, hey, BB, says, when I was hospitalized and couldn't be booked and busy, I was then forced to sit with myself. And oftentimes that happens, you know, because studies does show, I didn't read that particular statistic, but the stress comes out. You know, Black women are disproportionately affected by stress, and it comes out physically. I think for me, there was one period of time, and again, I've shared my testimony before. I'm a survivor, an overcomer of domestic violence, and my method to overcoming that situation is I immerse myself in my education. I immerse myself in striving to go higher in my career. I did a bachelor's and a master's back to back. And I just immersed myself in not only that, but church as well. Not that going to Jesus was the wrong response, but it was to the point that I was in church 3-4 times a week. And I was going to school full time for my grad studies. And I can remember one time pulling up to the church, getting ready to tutor some kids, and I broke down in the driveway. And I said, Lord, I'm sorry, Lord, I love you, but I can't do all of this anymore, because I was literally out of the house and gone every day from sun up to sundown. And I was single at the time, so it was just a lot. And it came out that way for me. Nicole says, I'll say 2025 has been a year of lessons, and especially in understanding I've been booked and busy as a facade for a long time. I've been working tirelessly, and I'm honestly exhausted from going so hard. Yes, absolutely. Here's another flip side. Dr. Randolph says, once I became an empty nester, no more of taking care of everything. Oh, we need to touch on that.
Right, because that goes back to what I mentioned earlier, what we said about sometimes the silence,
Yeah.
right? So then we don't have the noise and the busyness of running around
Yeah.
with the children. So that makes that loud silence more apparent. And then you'll either find something to fill it in
Yeah.
with, because there is something distressing.
Mm-hmm.
There is something that is uncomfortable
Mm-hmm.
that we don't want to deal with.
Yeah.
And so I don't have to deal with because I'm too busy. And once I get
Right.
finished, I have to go to bed, and then I have to wake up tomorrow and start all over again.
Yeah. Yeah. So often our busy trauma response is a way to avoid emotional pain,
For sure.
grief,
Mm-hmm.
vulnerability, um,
Trauma, self-esteem,
yeah.
issues.
Yeah.
For me, not only Dr. Randolph mentioned empty nesting,
Yeah.
but for me, beyond the empty nesting, it was like very rapidly. I went from being a stay-at-home mom,
Uh-huh.
raising my family.
Yeah.
They got older. They didn't need me as much. Going to school, loving what I do, going really, really hard in the paint, because it was almost like I needed to catch up for lost time.
Mm-hmm.
I was dealing with my own internal guilt, because I'm just like, man, my being a wife and being a mother used to be enough. So silently, I suffered. Like, why do I feel like this isn't enough when they were enough for me before? And so instead of well, the word now everybody uses balance, but I prefer to use the term harmony, because harmony fits together like this. Because balance means 50% over here and 50% over there.
Yes.
And none of us have the ability to be able to do that. That's very difficult. Balance is difficult to do, but harmony is easier to do, because everything is different sizes.
Yeah.
It's different levels of importance, but it all fits together. All the parts
Fit
of your
together.
life, they
Right.
fit together, right? So I needed to find that. So instead of finding that harmony of kind of transitioning from being everything to everybody and the schedule maker and all that kind of stuff, I went directly into my career and left kind of my family kind of like fending for themselves. So that silence, that loud silence, is necessary for us to sit in. Sit in your loud silence.
Sit in your silence. Sit in your silence. Nicole says, missing a huge goal in my business allowed me to acknowledge how hard I was going and learn that it was okay to miss a goal. I was mentally exhausted from going so hard and made a decision to breathe regardless, knowing the effort was put in.
I love that. Because who set the goal?
Yeah.
Nicole, you set the goal, right? So if you set the goal, you can adjust the goal if it's necessary for you to do that. You set it. So it's going back to what my therapist says. Who set that? Who made you do that?
Yeah.
That's you. So guess what? You're in control of moving that.
Yeah. I think other times. So I'm going to say, just in this conversation, being open, being transparent, I am just learning. And Mickey says that she loves the harmony concept. I am just learning harmony, because I thought, and when I look back, domestic violence was not the only trauma I've had. I've had trauma of the death of loved ones, the trauma of the death of my father, and him being lost to drug addiction, and just all these traumas that compiled and sometimes are unique to us as Black women that grew up in the hood, right? We come with a whole set of other traumas. And my response to that at every trauma that I've had in my life is to, okay, I'm gonna show this thing that I'm not that. So my thing with my father is, I'm going to show society I am not the product of a drug addicted daddy. I'm the rose that grew from concrete.
That's good.
And that makes you, I'm not going to say it doesn't make me own up my roots, because I own my roots, but it's that I was determined not to become that woman, that statistic, that thing that society tells us only comes from a single mother
Yes.
and a drug addicted father, or that kind of woman. And so I was intense on beating those odds. And I have responded that way to all trauma in my life. I just get busy doing something.
Defense mechanism.
Yeah.
That's their coping strategy.
Yeah.
That's what you do.
Yeah. Okay. So Dr. Randolph says that's good. Absolutely. Let's talk about this. The difference between being productive and being in survival mode. Because for me, you're saying that's a defense mechanism. That's a coping mechanism. But what's the difference? How would you describe the difference between productive and in survival mode? How do we know when we're just in, Nikki, you're in survival mode, you ain't grieved these deaths that have happened, you haven't grieved this, you're just in survival mode versus you're being productive?
Yeah, that's a good question. I was recently having a conversation actually with my husband, and we were just kind of talking about like next moves and where we're going and what we're going to do and why. And we got into a discussion of living below your means, as opposed to living like right at your means, or because you have the ability, like I have the ability to see 10 or 12 clients, a day, right? And to make, this high, this income, and to work somewhere else, and to consult for them, and to do this and to do that. But why?
Right.
What's your why? Why are you doing this? What is it that you are trying to achieve? What are you doing it for? Are you doing it to impress the Joneses? Are you doing it because you are still responding to not having everything that you needed when you were a child? So now you are hoarding and kind of storing up. I'm not saying to be irresponsible with your money and your finances, not to create generational wealth for your children, your grandchildren. That's not what I'm saying. I am saying, why are you taking on another job or position or contract in addition to what you are already doing? Because busyness does not necessarily equate to success.
Yeah.
Right.
Or productivity.
I'm even thinking about like restaurants. When you and I go to eat, if we go to a restaurant, 92 things, like, so you have Italian food, soul food, Mexican food, Chinese food, and Thai food. Which one of those things are you doing well?
What do
you specialize in? Because they might be okay, but what's your special? Why?
Yeah.
Why do you have to have all that? What do you specialize? So again, why are we doing all of those things? Is it because we're in survival mode? Is it because somebody said to us, "You're only this"? You're only a housewife. You're only a Black woman. So we're getting the racism from being a woman, right? And then we have the colorism, right? And then we have, not all, but some Black men saying things to us. We're saying things to one another. Those things. And so we don't, it's difficult for us to find like that median level, right? We are either considered lazy or doing anything, or we are tearing our sisters down, or we're throwing the girl, booked and busy, get another one, badge of honor, high five to you, right? And
or get that bag.
Go get the bag. That was something like and over the last couple years I have moved a few times, and each time I'm packing up my stuff, it's funny that you say a bag, because I own. You already know.
I know, Lord.
Packing up the shoes and the bag. And I'm just like, I only can carry one of these at a time.
Yeah.
And I only can wear one of these shoes, pair of shoes at a time. Why?
Do I have all this?
Why do I have it all? Right? And it becomes frustrating. And why? It is to mask, to cover up, to go before me when I walk into a room, because this says that when I walk into the room, type of car you drive says that when you walk into a room, right? And so And now I'm driving a car that that's paid for. And I was like, well, I'm gonna drive this till the wheels fall off, because I've not had a car note in 3 years.
Baby, listen, who want a car note? Yeah.
And, I went and took my car to service, and as they were changing my oil, I went and peeked in and saw the red leather seats and all of that. But I also saw the $116,000 price tag.
Yeah.
I don't want that car note.
Yeah.
Just to be mad when you bump up against my car when I go to Meijer.
Yeah.
Why? So what's your why? Are you still in survival mode? Did somebody hurt your feelings?
Yeah.
Why are you doing it?
Yeah. This was an interesting fact, and I wanted to touch on it under the umbrella of how we're perceived, because you said a little earlier that as Black women, we're perceived as tearing one another down. We're perceived, quite frankly, by what other cultures see on social media.
Sure.
So they see the fighting, they see the bickering, or what they see on TV. They see, the ratchet TV that I'm guilty of watching myself. But those are the images that they see of Black women. But we're also seen as highly resilient. Again, that strong Black woman mantra. And it says that Black women often demonstrate remarkable resilience in the face of adversity, drawing on community support, spiritual beliefs, and family networks. And so what we have to our credit is a sense of community. Mm-hmm. We got girlfriends, we got sorority sisters, we got day ones, we have all of these things that connect us in community, and that is very important. We are a culture of women that's strongly rooted in spirituality, whatever that may be. And so we're seen as, a community of women that are remarkably resilient, and we carry that banter. And so it's good. Is that a good thing to be always seen as that? And does that add to the lack of resources that we sometimes, or the lack of us going to get the resources, or the lack of awareness when we are steeped in trauma and we're doing it?
For sure.
Yeah.
I think when we don't really understand what it means to be resilient, mm-hmm. what it means to be strong. Mm-hmm. Again, I said I'm a therapist, and I train and I teach therapists, but I had to reach out to a therapist. Yeah. That wasn't me showing weakness, mm-hmm. right? That was a conversation I need to have with myself. That was me showing strength, mm-hmm. right? Because I desired somebody to help me process what it was that I was feeling and experiencing at those times. So did that make me less resilient because I reached out for the help that I needed in that moment? Yeah. If I fell down the stairs and I fractured my leg, mm-hmm. I would go get that help. Yeah. Right. If I don't know, if I break a nail, I'm gonna text my nail tech and I'm on my way. I talk with my hands. I don't want to break a nail. Whatever that thing looks like, right? We go take care of those things. Right. When my check engine light, comes on, my car needs to make it to go in for service. So I think not fully understanding what it means to be resilient. If you take a break or you take a nap, it doesn't, when I talk to people about self-care and caring for yourself, mm-hmm. we start with the very basics, because when I ask people about self-care, they're typically I get my nails done, I get my my feet done, things and all that costs money, mm-hmm. or are not necessarily self-care. Because for me, getting my nails done and my toes done are grooming. That's grooming for me. Yeah. I was talking to people all day. Yeah. I need to look good. I'm even throwing my hands all up, and my nail polish is all lipped up. And so there were several days, and my nail, I have a phone right here, and she give me the other hand. Some day I have a laptop, and she's mm-hmm. just do you need to do that right now? And some days she will take my things from me, mm-hmm. and bring me a glass of whatever that she has chilling at that moment, so that it does become self-care for me, because it's grooming. Yeah. So we need to make sure, right, that your self-care, it doesn't necessarily always need to be catching a fight. Now, I do catch flights.
We like flights.
I like flights.
Yeah.
I do need to catch flights because it allows me to fully separate and leave one phone here and, all of that or whatever. But it also looks like when your body told you that you needed to go to the bathroom, did you get up and go to the bathroom?
Yeah.
Or did you say, well, so-and-so is coming in and they really need me and they're more important than my black. So I'm going to hold mine because they need me more.
Yeah.
Self-care. Did you drink some water today? Right? Yeah. Did you get up and walk around for 15 minutes? I'm not asking you for your whole day because I know that you are busy and I know that you have all of these things that you need to get done.
Yeah.
I'm saying, can you set your watch or whatever it is to go off every 15 minutes and promise and vow to yourself that when it goes off, I'm going to stop what I'm doing. I'm going to ground myself. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to go get some water.
I'm going to walk away from the
computer.
Walk away
from the computer. I'm going to take my glasses out. Whatever that thing is. Close your eyes. Yes. Whatever that thing is for you. Yeah. That's self-care.
That's self-care. Yeah, because we often, like you said, we think of spa days and that is self-care. Getting your body rubbed on is self-care too. But it doesn't always have to, self-care doesn't always have to cost.
It does not have to cost.
Yeah, it doesn't have to cost. Dr. Randolph says, your strength is shown when you reach out for help and camaraderie. We don't have everything. We don't have everything within ourselves. Utilize your tribe and be happy about it. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Nicole says, that's definitely discipline. Yes. So I think that's good. Knowing what resilience is, not feeling that the guilt and the shame that's attached. Like there's some Saturdays, if I sleep past 10 o'clock on a Saturday, I'm like, oh, my whole day is gone away, right? Because you condition yourself to.
Or for business owners, right?
Yeah.
Like every dollar. Or for me as a therapist, I know that I'm not a good fit for everybody who reaches out to me.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that, right? Even if I am a good fit, if I say I have reached the capacity of who I am willing, and this is brand new, so don't let me fool you. But I've reached the capacity of what I'm willing to take, right?
Yeah.
Because it removes me from other things that I desire to be doing. I have no problem texting some of my colleagues, texting some of my sorors. It won't even be somebody who's on my team because I also know what they have going on. But somebody outside of us all together and referring that individual to somebody else who I trust will take good care of them.
Yeah.
Because I don't need to make every single dollar.
Yes.
Me being employed, self-employed, came from my desire to show up for individuals who typically don't get the time and space to show up for themselves. So many of my clients are doctors and nurses and other therapists and, those people who are caregivers who are caring for other people. But at the same time, at some point in over the last couple of years, it became my everything.
Yeah.
My all day and my all night. And the purpose of me being self-employed is because I want to control my time.
That's right. Yeah.
I need to control my time. I don't need to give more. And I'm not saying that I did not have to put in the work and working on my business and in my business in order to get going. But once it's going, it took my husband to remind me, like, it's going. Like,
it's going. Yeah.
Relax.
You can strategize on stepping back. Yeah. Earlier you mentioned about the inability to say no. So I want to pose this question to the audience. Can you think of a time you said yes when your spirit was screaming no? Can you think of a time when you said yes when your spirit was screaming no? Because again, that is a coping mechanism, a defense mechanism. When you find it hard to say, listen, I can't serve in that capacity. Sometimes I can't be at that particular event. And this event. I can't, I just can't do it all. And sometimes we feel guilty. It's hard for us to say no. I have been there. It has been very hard, especially if it's a certain person that I have a large amount of respect and admiration for. It's hard for me to tell that person no, I ain't gonna be able to make it, or whatever the case. And so you find yourself in where you're being there for everybody. You're all, you're all over the calendar fills up because you can't say no.
Yes.
Yeah. How much of that do you think also is, a control factor?
It is. I mean, even for control, not even, it could be some of the type A control, like, we bossy and we just want to,
Be
boss
involved
everybody,
in
be
everything.
involved
Right.
in everything. But the other part of it is like, so I can be controlling in my own right. I live with anxiety. And so my control comes from my need to control my surroundings.
Okay. Yeah.
And control my environment. And that was one thing I wanted to bring up too. I think, you called me out one time because we were like, with a group of people and we were eating and somebody said something and I'm just like, that sounds like work to me. Right. So we have to be, when we talk about self-care is not just physical self-care.
Yeah.
There are a lot of areas of self-care. There's financial self-care.
Yeah.
Right. So are you spending wisely? Are you overspending because you're coping with other things? Because you're bored, because you don't feel
buying
like
them shoes because you're
buying
mad.
those shoes.
Yes.
That's why I had all those shoes. Okay, I got it. I understand. So then there is your self-care of your environment. What does your environment look like?
Yeah.
Right. So we'll put like, I have my controlled chaos, but again, one of my other colleagues that I was in consultation with, she was like, well, you have that beautiful, swing and you have this or whatever. How often do you sit? I'm like, never. Like, that was there because I thought it would be a cool, thing. It's not for use. Why do I have something that I think is calming? It's sitting right by the window where I can look at the trees and do all those things, and I'm not using it.
Yeah.
We keep going back to why.
The why. The why. I think that's the theme. Why.
Discover is the why.
Discover is the why. Christine says we mistake oftentimes self-care. I'm guilty of that. Me being a therapist, I have to check myself often and ask myself, how are you encouraging rest? Saying no and walking away, and you don't. I'm doing better at checking myself, but I have to do better. I think we all have to do better in that. And I think after you have just come to a point where your body just starts to give out more often, maybe it comes with age, it forces you in that space where you're like, no.
You posted on one of your platforms, like, well, when did you know that you were, I don't know, aging or something like that? And my response was like, when I woke up and my whole left side was hurting.
Girl.
For no reason.
Yes. Stress.
Whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
It was something.
Yeah.
And so I'm still gonna plow through. Don't make your body and God or whatever put you down.
Yeah. Because it'll come out. I mean, the stress, the constantly on the go, not getting proper rest. And I can tell you, this is not a lecture. I can't tell you how important it is for women at our age to get rest. The older we get, the more we have to replenish our bodies with the nutrients that is missing. And one nutrient is rest. Drinking water is the other. But getting plenty of water, resting so that, your skin stays vibrant and youthful, and the wrinkles don't set in, and all of these things that, we can avoid with just the proper rest and proper nutrition. So Nicole says there are so many instances because of being a people pleaser. Ooh. That's a good one. I used to be. I'm grateful for every effort put forth to say no today and to stand on it. So
with no guilt.
Yeah, with no guilt. There is that people pleasing side to not being able to say.
There's that people pleasing. There's also the martyr syndrome. There is the savior. I remember earlier on in my studies and becoming a therapist, you're not people's savior. I'm not your savior, right?
Yeah.
And so we are not other people's savior. I'm a believer and I believe in Jesus. So he's my savior, right? And so I'm not here to say, can I help? Can I support? Can I can I coach? Can I mentor? Can I help you see things maybe from a different perspective? But who tagged you to be the savior?
Yeah. Yeah. We don't have to involve ourselves in everything. Right.
And the show will go on.
And the show will go on. So that's so funny that you said that. So earlier on in my career, and this is in the thick of my just booked and busy all the time. And I honestly, when I relocated here to the Northwest, I had to learn how not to be booked and busy, taking on a family. Like, I think that's what taught me that. But you would always, I think I was in a leadership training or something of that nature, but that's where I learned the concept. You can't save everybody. And as Black women, we often think we're the only ones that can do it. It won't get done right if our hands are not involved in it. Again, that control and being involved in everything. And
even when we're rearing our children or we're punishing them, oftentimes we will give our children a punishment that we're actually the ones that are receiving the punishment and not them.
Oh, explain.
So it's funny. My mom will always say this about my dad. When we were growing up, she was like, "Yeah, he'd be spanking himself, talking about you. Stop doing that." Mm-hmm. So let's say, for instance, your child is not washing the dishes properly, or they're not giving their full effort, and you don't like the way that they do the dishes, right? Mm-hmm. And so instead of standing there with them and showing and training them how to wash the dishes, what you gonna do?
You do it for them. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't have time to be sitting here all day because I got to get over here and I need to do this other thing. So go on and let me wash these dishes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we approach that professionally sometimes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Same way.
Yeah.
Same way. I am. And it's funny that you say that, because I recently left a position that I took on. And I'm just so grateful for the realization now that I'm just not in that space in my career anymore. And there are some things that you all need to do in order to be ready for what I'm going to bring to the table. Mm-hmm. Right? You're not quite there. And it's nothing, not that I'm amazing and all that, but we are just at different spaces. And so what you are asking me to do, even though I got the title, even though I got the money that I asked for and all those things, it wasn't worth the trade-off of what I needed to do.
Because you would have been out of harmony.
Oh.
There's that harmony again. Yeah.
And I'm just like, why am I feeling like this feels familiar to me? You know why? Because my body was keeping the score. I was starting to get involved in some things professionally that I had done when I walked away from my other six-figure position to go out on my own without a client and half of a website made, because it wasn't, I pay attention to my body and what my body is telling me now. I had not always been in that space. My therapist, she would be like, well, how do you feel? And I'm like, well, I feel like that was wrong. I feel like they could have handled it differently. I feel like there was a different way to solve the issue. I feel like, she's like, no, what do you feel? And I'm just like, I feel this tension in my neck, and I feel, like, what are you feeling? Right. Yeah. I did a speaking engagement this weekend and talking to a medical provider, and they were sharing some things with me. And I'm just like, because you took that thing, you took that trauma and you stored it in your back. Yeah. Or you stored it in your shoulders. Or you stored it in your heart. Right. So oftentimes some of the physical pain and ailment that we are feeling comes from us putting something, compartmentalizing it, right, to my lower back. Yeah. And I'm going to carry it in my lower back until I'm ready to deal with it. Yeah. It's so good you said that, because stress can kill you. Being booked and busy can kill you. The data shows that Black women are associated with a higher risk of depression, anxiety, substance use disorders, and dependency on other drug treatments, and other mental health challenges when we are overwhelmed, we are overstressed, when we're always booked and busy, right? So we are climbing the ladder, we are smashing our goals, we're knocking out the
part. Our resume looks good. Okay. The 6 figures are there. We're finally making the money that we deserve. Our education is finally paying off. We're able to now pay some of our student loans because we're making the 6 figures, but we're experiencing all of this other physical stuff that's happening. It's the stress, it's the anxiety, it's the panic attacks, it's the dependence on drugs or other coping food, other coping mechanisms. So in a lot of ways, we're doing the damn thing as Black women, but we're paying for that success in other ways. At what cost? Okay.
Is it worth it?
Yeah. Jamaica says, I definitely approach that professionally. If they aren't doing it the way that I feel, talking about the need to control, they should, then I do it instead of allowing them to figure out themselves and do it their way as long as the end results is the same. That is probably leadership 101 is learning how to delegate. You got to learn how to delegate.
And also figuring out, is it protocol, policy, and procedure, or is it preference? Right?
Yeah.
There's a difference between protocol. In the work that I do in mental health, there is protocol. If somebody's homicidal or suicidal, there it doesn't switch up according to where you are. The same steps, right? If they're in that. So that is protocol. Yeah. Now, for something, if I write my progress note in this style and you write your progress note in that style, that's preference.
Right.
Yeah. So is it a policy and procedure or is it your preference?
Yeah.
If it's your preference,
relax. Yeah. It's your preference that they do it a certain kind of way because that's how you learn. That's what you've mastered. That's
where you feel comfortable. That's where your comfort zone
That's where your success has come from. But there may be other ways to doing things. But I think that was big for me professionally is learning delegation and utilizing and molding the individuals who were looking to me for leadership so that they can do it. Because listen, I could get sick. I could need a mental health break. And you want
it needs to be able to carry on. It needs to keep going, right? And I was considering that, and even with my business and having to think about, like, if something was to happen to me, my husband is not a therapist. I would want my business to go. So, like, how would that work? And I'm very proud to say that any of my dream team that I so affectionately call them can keep this going. So I've had a conversation with my husband and my children about, okay, if something happens to me, even if I don't die, I'm incapacitated. Latoya can do this. Carl Regina, she can do that. Like, they know what to do. And these are individuals that I have spent years with, pouring into them. They also pour into me. And they're all amazing leaders in their own right, and they can keep things going.
Yes, absolutely.
That's true leadership.
True leadership. That's absolutely. So Mina says, yes, all of those things you have said are spot on. Darren says, there are many evenings I'm sitting quietly at home. It's wonderful. Extreme fatigue and overcommitting wore me out. Now I pick and choose, dip in and dip out. Yes. I think the other thing that I learned, and listen, I didn't share this fully. So last year, and I probably have shared this before, but in relation to the conversation that we're having. So last year, 2024, I had an event, put a lot of energy and time into that event. And then my body just, my mind just went into rest. And I do feel like it was God induced, like God was speaking to me, rest. And he had me in that mode, rest, all of 2024. We like to get out. We like to have a good time. I felt like in 2024, I did not have a hot girl summer because I didn't do a whole lot. I got out with the girlfriends here and there, dinner, let's go have a cocktail. But to the level of just summer activities and doing this and being there, and God just said, rest. Sometimes you're being called to rest because God's preparing you for the next season. Okay. And it's going to require your energy. It's going to require your whole mind. It's going to require your whole heart. Don't get me to preaching. It's going to require you to have some downtime. It's going to require you to, again, what we said, sit in silence and listen. Listen to what God is saying to you. Why is he telling you to rest? What is the next that because he drops the hints and the signs, and sometimes you gotta stop being so booked and busy so that you can hear from God fully,
because he's not talking through to us through the burning bush like he was before.
Right.
So we need to be resting and calm and quiet and sitting in that silence and grounding. I'm reading this book now on prayer, and it is talking about even the places that we sit and where we were. It's pointing out the different places where Jesus was in the scripture when he was praying, right, stealing away from the crowd. He got away.
Yeah.
Right. And so how are you gonna hear?
Yeah.
He's not, it's not gonna be the 10 Commandments movie that comes on, right? And this loud booming voice, he is whispering to us.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta be still. Yeah.
Stillness.
Yeah. Mina says, I've been in management for years, and delegating was my biggest struggle. She also says that I am definitely in a new season. Embrace that new season. I'm in a new season too, Mina. Sharon says that God rested a day as an example to us. Yes, definitely. Nicole says, trust the process. Resting, I think resting has, again, when we take the conversation in context of the strong Black woman and being resilient, resting often is a struggle for us, again, for all of those different reasons. But we got to learn to say no. We got to learn sometimes not just say no to other people. Sometimes we got to say no to ourselves, right? And reclaim your rest. Okay, reclaim your rest. So next question for the audience, or last question, and we'll kind of wrap the conversation up. But what does rest look like for you? What does rest look like for you? Because rest can look like different things depending on what you need. But what does rest look like for you, Dr. Trevaughn?
I would say it's a work in progress, and it's evolving. Probably as late as 2 weeks ago, I had a break in between clients, and I'm like, hey, I need to be doing progress notes. So working on the survey that I was telling you about, or those things. But I decided to get up and remove myself from in front of my laptop, and I laid down in the bed at 2:00 in the afternoon. And I have been laying there for maybe about 15 or 20 minutes. And my husband came in the room, and he was just like, wow. He's like, this is good to see.
Yeah.
Because, at one point in my life as a child, I was a reader, and I was in the corner reading a book, and I didn't want to stop reading my book to clean my room and all that kind of stuff. And so then it's like, you're lazy and all that kind of stuff or whatever. And so I have this like intrusive thought, or this distortion, this cognitive distortion, that if you are not doing something, you're going to be seen, as lazy or not doing what you're supposed to be doing. And I took a nap, and it is an amazing thing. Somebody posted on social media, I think it was one of our sorors, was just like, we fought naps when we were children because we didn't want to fear missing out.
Yes. Yes.
And
absolutely.
No FOMO.
Yes.
Because it'll be waiting. Whatever that thing is will be waiting for you when you get done.
Yeah.
It'll still be there.
Yes.
So.
Nicole says, saying no to myself. Woo, that's powerful. Yes. Sometimes you have to definitely say no. Mina says, I take a nap when I get overstimulated now. So can oversleeping be a coping mechanism?
Oversleeping for sure.
Too much.
Sleeping too much is actually can be. Listen, I'm licensed to diagnose, but I'm not diagnosing anybody in this moment.
We ain't
We're
diagnosing
not
nobody.
diagnosing anybody,
Mhm.
but it is one of the characteristics or symptoms of depression.
Mhm.
So when you are sleeping too much or not enough, so
Yeah.
anxiety, depression,
Yeah.
that is a characteristic of that. There
Yeah.
are so many other questions that need to be answered along with that. So if you
Yeah.
are sleeping, you could just be resting because you're exhausted. It does not necessarily mean that you are depressed or anxious, but you know, there are a lot of other characteristics that have to go along in order for you to meet that criteria.
Yeah. So again, we're not diagnosing. That's not what we're here today. Dr. Trevaughn is not. She would have to have a one-on-one with you, and we'll show you how to get in contact with her. But what, from your professional perspective, what practical tools would you give women, our listeners, those that are listening in? What practical tools would you give them for helping to cope with that always needing to be booked and busy?
Yeah. I think one of the easiest things that you can do is you might be booked and busy for the next 90 days. And there's not a lot of space for you to get something in right now.
Mm-hmm.
But if you need to go, so what is this? May, June, July, August. Pull out your calendar for August. And once a week or however you can do it daily,
Mm-hmm.
block off some time and make
Mm-hmm.
a promise to yourself that I'm not going to fill that time with anything
Right.
during your workday. It could be 15 minutes. It could be, 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It could be 2 hours, on and 30 minutes off, whatever
Yeah.
that looks like, whatever you're able to do according to the work that you do. Because some people are service providers where their service is going to last 2 hours, 2.5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Do you necessarily need to have that other person come in as soon as you get finished, or is there space for you to put 15 or 20 minutes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would think, so that's super practical. One of the other things is preparing, kind of having already prepared what you're going to do kind of
Mm-hmm.
with that time and space. So are you going to do some deep breathing exercises?
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to take off your stilettos while at work and not sweat in your business suit necessarily, but bring your your
Mm-hmm.
sneakers to do a walk maybe around the building or in the building
Mm-hmm.
or whatever, just to get up and get your blood
Mm-hmm.
flowing, that piece. I would also say be very, very, very careful of the individuals that you spend your time with,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you are a giver.
Right.
If you are a giver, like people
We'll
recognize that,
yeah.
and they see you coming, some intentionally, some
Mm-hmm.
don't even know that they are being manipulated, or
Mm-hmm.
being manipulative. They don't even know that they've been trained in, I need to manipulate to get my needs met.
Mm-hmm.
So even though they don't have to manipulate you or don't have to manipulate
Mm-hmm.
me, I mean, you can ask me for, the shirt on my back. If I have another
Right.
shirt available in that moment, I will and have
Yeah.
taking it off and giving it to you because like,
Yeah.
probably have 3 anyway.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother conversation for a different day.
Yeah.
But being very selective about who you spend your time with.
Yes.
Do not disturb. The sleep app on your phone. I have started sleeping actually with my phones,
Mm-hmm.
both phones, in a different room.
Yeah.
Part of that is I don't put them on do not disturb, but they are in a different room. The ringers are off. Part of that is because my husband's phone is in the room, so
Mm-hmm.
my children are going to call me first.
Mm-hmm.
If there is something happens, and if I don't answer, they are going to call him.
Mm-hmm.
But not that I don't love my clients and my mentees and the individuals that work with me and all that. But I have to cut it off at a certain point.
So learn to cut it off.
I'm leaving it in a different room.
Yeah.
I'm not going to scroll social media. Recently, I've started reading again for recreation.
Yeah.
And just doing those type of things. So what brings you comfort? What brings you joy? What would you be doing if money wasn't an object for you? Like if you didn't have to work, what would you spend your time doing?
What do you say to the mom? Right. So, I mean, that side of it too. So there are women who may be checking in,
Sure.
who, they may be mid-level career, not high-powered career, but they're a mom or a wife, and that keeps them booked and busy. And how do you, step back from being booked and busy when your family needs you?
For sure.
And they demand your time, and you got to cook for your husband, you got to cook for the children. What advice would you give them?
First of all, boundaries and setting up your household to where your kids are not up till 11:45 p.m.
Yeah.
They need a bedtime.
Uh-huh. Even at 17, 18.
They need they you know
No.
they,
Yeah.
those that age group they're avoiding you anyway. But those that still need you,
yeah, the
little ones that are on your leg, they need to go to bed.
And so you can have some me time.
Start shutting it down at 7:45, at 8 o'clock. I have a client, and I love them. But they're a mother of young children and they need their therapy time. They during the day to be in the evening.
Yeah.
And so I will, there was a time where I worked, every evening. I needed to meet everybody's needs, but that's not working for me in the space that I'm in now, right?
Yeah.
So I will allow, one day, but that individual needs to have their therapy appointments in the evening because they want their house quiet and they want their children put down. So set some boundaries with you. Start working on the routine, the bath, whatever the smell good bubble bath is, or whatever that will help the children rest and go to sleep.
Yeah.
The other thing is, and I'm not trying to be in anybody's household, but you don't need a 4-course meal every night. Some people I talk to, some clients I talk to, did they eat? Did everybody eat?
Yeah.
You guys may have had macaroni and cheese, like boxed macaroni and cheese, but did they eat? Did y'all have cereal? Did y'all have pancakes? Y'all have pancakes for dinner, some eggs and some bacon on the side. Yeah. Did everybody eat?
Did everybody eat? Yeah.
They ate.
That's good. Yeah. So looking for ways to not overexert yourself. So that's a professional, that's a mom. What do you say to the woman who, and I think this probably fits a lot of the ladies that are checking in, they're now at the age where they're either caregiving for their mom or they're the one that everybody comes to in the family. They need this, they need that, they're the one, and that keeps them, booked and busy with family life and caregiving and just being there for everybody in their immediate.
For sure. Obviously each situation is going to be different and it depends on your parents and what they need, right? That said, I think it's very, very important for you to communicate what your needs are as well. Having some of those difficult conversations with your parents, like you don't want to be disrespectful, you don't want it to appear as if you don't care,
right?
And those things. Combine things. If you are going to be cooking for your family on that particular day, buy extra head of cabbage and make 2 cabbages and 2 meatloaves so that you can take that over, to your parents at particular time. The other thing is I love patronizing other people's businesses or whatever. So there are some sisters out there that that can cook and do meal prep and all of those things. I remember actually having a difficult time when I started having somebody come in to clean my home.
Yeah. I still haven't gotten there yet. Like to have someone, which is crazy.
Because when I say
I'm like,
I need somebody ever, it is the absolute best thing ever. So and everybody's not able to necessarily to do that and to do it all the time, but to get one good deep clean it and then you keep it up, from there or whatever. Maybe you do that as opposed to, and you're prioritizing what your money is. Somebody said to me before, man, I wish that I had that point in something that I had. I said, well, everybody prioritizes what they spend their money on. I said, because you and your beautiful haircut, you get your hair done every week and I don't. Right. Yeah. So where do your priorities lie? I recognize that my anxiety and frustration and shortness comes when, especially even when I'm traveling and had a great time, my house is in a disaster area because I wait till the last minute to pack. So I'm pulling stuff out and then I come back to that. it's overwhelming for me, right? So time management and planning time, that this is time that I've allotted for this thing, and I'm going to stick to that as best that I can.
Yeah, that's good. Keeping a schedule. Some of the things that was recommended is, some practical tools. What one of them was keeping a schedule, keeping yourself organized, journaling, therapy. You talked about the sacred pauses, just the pausing throughout the day, just taking 15 minutes just to pause. Walk away from the computer, walk outside, walk around the building. Sacred pauses is what they call them. And again, just learning to say no, no to yourself as well. Okay. So my last question for you, and we'll share where we can find Dr. Trevaughn, but if we could replace the booked and busy mantra with another life mantra, what would it be? Instead of always being booked and busy for Black women, what's another mantra you would give us?
So I'm going to give two. And it's ironic that you bring that up, because I actually brought a gift for you.
Okay.
And
I like gifts.
They actually were inspired by you.
Okay.
And you lovingly called them Trevaughnisms.
Oh, Trevaughnism.
And you were just like, you need to put those things on a t-shirt.
Oh, I remember.
So my affirmations that are now on a t-shirt.
Okay.
And I brought those t-shirts so that you can have. That one that you are opening up now says, I have counted the costs, and it's a no for me.
I have counted the costs, and it's a no for me. Yeah, y'all see that?
Okay, so count the costs. Whatever those costs look like for you. Is it costing you your time, your mental health, your physical health? Is it costing you financially? Is it costing you, being away from other places and spaces you need to be in? Count the costs before you say yes.
Yeah.
So that would be first.
Yeah.
Count the costs. And then that second one says that I am no longer setting myself on fire to keep you warm.
Listen, I am no longer setting myself on fire to keep you warm. Listen, can't do it no more.
Because at some point you are going to disintegrate.
Yeah.
And everybody's toasting their marshmallows.
Yeah.
And they're making their s'mores, and their hands and everything are all warm and comfortable, and you're disintegrating.
Yeah.
So we cannot continue to set ourselves on fire so that everybody else can be warm.
I think two things that I want to make sure it's clear as we're kind of tailoring out this conversation. You said earlier, the booked and busy, learn your why. And then the other thing that I'm picking up is the self-awareness, being self-aware, because a lot of times we don't even understand that we're carrying trauma or that we're coping by being booked and busy. We just know we're hurting, we're stressed all the time, we're not sleeping well.
Well, we don't feel good. We don't like this. I don't want to have that conversation. I don't want to make that phone call. I don't want to deal with what the diagnosis that the doctor has given me and told me that I need to make these lifestyle changes because I'm busy.
Yeah, because I'm always busy. So sometimes that it takes some self-reflection and self-awareness to understand that what's the root cause of going back to your why. What's the root cause of me being booked and busy? Or what's the root cause of me wanting to get this other degree? Or what's the root cause of me wanting to accomplish all of those things? Is there something that I'm not dealing with? I'm avoiding something that I haven't dug up from my past that's leading me to feel like my worthiness is attached to how booked and busy I am, or how much success that I have. Like it really takes really digging deep. And so you offer those services to help women, to help people in general to unpack those things. Tell us a little bit about Nzinga Mind and Heart and where we can find you.
For sure. Nzinga Mind and Heart is my baby, named after Queen Nzinga. who was an African princess, and she was an African queen, not a princess, and a conqueror. But my team and I, we provide therapeutic and support services to individuals to help you get where you're going. You know, I like to say when life is lifing, because life's
Yes.
For all of us, to be able to offer that space for individuals to be able to take their cape off for a little bit. When I did my doctoral research, part of the title of my research was putting your mask on first. So just like they tell you on the airplane, you have to put your mask on first
before you can save others.
Before you can save other people, right? And I know that sounds crazy. If I was on an airplane tomorrow with my grandbabies, I will not be thinking about putting my mask on first. I need to make sure that they're good. However, right, using my grandson, a 3-year-old, as an example, I know if I try to put that mask on his face, he's gonna be doing all this and no, Granny, I don't want that. I don't want that, right? And so I'm fighting with him while we're losing pressure and air in the airplane, and I pass out, and guess who's going next?
Right.
My grandbaby. Whereas if I would have put mine on first, I will have enough oxygen to be able to get that mask on his face, right? Put your mask on first.
Put your mask on first. And we can find you at Nzinga Mind and Heart.
Yes.
And you see
on all the social media platforms and NzingaMindandHeart.com.
Yeah. So Nzinga Mind and Heart, thank you so much for being here on this evening. If you are in need of Nzinga Mind and Heart, I have included the website in the chat. NzingaMindandHeart.com. You can look Dr. Trevaughn up, or if you need a speaker, you not only speak to individuals, but you also are there for organizations and families who need just mental health support. Okay. Again, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and it is so important for us to, again, be self-aware and to know that there is no shame whatsoever in seeking support. We need to take off the stigma as Black women that we are strong. Some other things that we have said on this evening is sometimes that, we're doing things to cope. And we just need to sometimes unroot and unpack a lot of that stuff that's helping us to cope or avoid. And we often do that, again, by being booked and busy. So my last question for Dr. Trevaughn before we say bye to her is, what would you give the people, an ending affirmation? What affirmation would you share with the listeners, those who have checked in on
so
this
I gave
evening?
My t-shirt.
You too.
My affirmation, right?
Okay.
I am no longer setting myself on fire.
No longer setting yourself on fire.
Yeah, to keep you warm. And I've counted the cost. It's a no for me.
It's a no for me. I like that. It is a no for me. Well, thank you for being here on this evening. I appreciate you as always. Thank you for agreeing to be here. You always bring such a wealth of knowledge. This isn't Dr. Trevaughn's first time here. I think the last time we were talking about aunties. Was there another one? I've done so many.
Yeah, there were.
This is like episode 46, y'all. Like, I've been doing this podcasting thing for a little while. I'm trying to grow my community. And so when I looked back, I was like, oh, I've done about 45, 46 of these episodes, which you can find all on YouTube, High Heels and Lipstick Conversation, if you want to go back and see some of the past topics that I have done. But thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Nzinga Mind and Heart. We're going to say bye to Dr. Trevaughn. And so listen, if you were inspired, empowered by this conversation on this evening, I have put together a workbook. Okay, so to go as a companion with tonight's conversation, it's just like a reflection, some journaling. It's a fillable document that I will be sending you via email. You have to sign up to be on my email list. Okay. If you sign up to be on my email list, you also enter an opportunity to win $100 gift card. So I am going to drop that link as well where you can sign up. If you would like a copy of tonight's companion, a workbook that I pulled together just to kind of continue the conversation, again, to bring some of that self-awareness, I'd be more than happy to send it to you as a freebie, okay? Just by you signing up for my email. Here's the link. It's a Google Doc, y'all. It's a Google Doc, y'all. Click on that link. It's also pinned to the caption of this video. And I also drop the link post this live as well. But sign up for my email list, help me to grow my community, become a part of the community, and also enter to win $100 from your store of choice. Okay. So you go in, you click on that link, you fill in your information, and you also tell me what store of choice you would like to get $100 gift card. Now, everybody can't get one. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to draw from the names of those who submitted their information and became a part of my community on this evening. And then I will announce who that winner is on my social media platforms where you can find me at High Heels and Lipstick Conversation on Facebook. You can also find me on YouTube. Again, High Heels and Lipstick Conversation, and I will announce who that winner is, but you have to sign up. You're also going to get, again, a copy of my High Heels and Lipstick Conversation Companion. It's called Booked and Busy, A Black Woman's Primal Response. And it has a couple of little neat things in here, some affirmations, some ways that you can practice self-care, some ways that you can practice self-awareness. It has some scripture for you to meditate on as well. So it's a tool that I pulled together specifically for this conversation. So please join my community, the email list. The link there is in the chat. Click on that link. It'll bring up my page and enter to win that $100. Everybody needed $100, okay? Like Father's Day is coming up. You got a boo thing, you got your husband, you got a son, somebody that you may want to give that $100 gift card to, or you may just want to take it for yourself and spend it on something nice for yourself. Okay. Next month, we are going to be talking about on High Heels and Lipstick Conversation, love and marriage. The month of June is dedicated to love and marriage. Is Love and Marriage Month, to be exact. And so one thing that I always want to make sure that I am doing as a part of High Heels and Lipstick Conversation is representing myself, representing my brand, representing my people. And I think for the month of June, we're going to talk about love and marriage and relationships and all things. So you need to stay tuned. Okay. You need to get on the email list so that you know when I'm coming back before you. I think my next time before you be like June 10th, and we'll bring a panel in. We want to hear from some brothers. We're going to talk about all things love and marriage and relationships. So please like and subscribe to the YouTube page, join my email list, like and subscribe to the Facebook pages so you can stay in the loop and in the know of when I come before you. Also, I'm an author, okay? I am an author. Again, I just came back from a tour, Delta Authors on Tour in Arizona, where I promoted my latest book, which is called Lipstick Affirmation, Words of Wisdom Every Grown-Ass Woman Needs to Know. You can find me on Amazon, and you go to Amazon, type in Nemia Carnese. I guarantee you that book is going to be the first book to come up. You'll also see 7 Lessons for Her, which was my first release a couple years ago, all about healing, empowerment, and restoration. So please check those out. I think it will be something contained in there that may be a blessing for you. Okay. Let's see. Do I have anything else? I hope y'all have a good evening on this evening. Thank you for checking in. I appreciate those who have supported me. I appreciate those who have encouraged me to continue on doing this podcasting thing. I always like to do things with the mindset that you get better. at whatever you put your effort toward and your energy toward. And so my goal in 2025 is to get better with this podcasting thing, to bring topics that are relevant, that are impactful, that are meaningful, that are God-centered, and just represent who I am as a woman. So thank you for being here on this evening. If there's any affirmation that I could leave you for, a lipstick affirmation that I can leave you on tonight, I'm going to take it right from this workbook that I slaved over and put together for you guys so that you can have a tool and companion, so you can be encouraged and empowered. I hope you take your time to rest. But one affirmation that I share in this workbook is I am allowed to rest. I think a couple weeks ago when we had Dr. Adrienne Little on, one thing that she shared with us that I thought was so powerful, and we were talking about the software era, but she shared that rest is my birthright. Rest is not something that I have to ask for. It's not something that I have to barter for, beg for, but you're allowed to rest, and rest is your birthright. So thank you for joining me on this evening. I hope that you enjoyed tonight's conversation. Don't stop the conversation. Please continue to share your comments and your thoughts in the chat. And until I see you next time, smooches, y'all. All right, my beautiful souls, that's a wrap on this episode of High Heels and Lipstick Conversation. I hope you're leaving inspired, empowered, and ready to walk boldly in your heels. If today's conversation spoke to you, don't keep it to yourself. Do me a favor and share it with your tribe. And don't forget to hit that like, share, and subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Also, please note the opinions and thoughts expressed on tonight's episode are those of Nemia Carnese and High Heels Lipstick Conversations alone, and are not the express opinions of any other organizations or entities I represent. Music was provided by Upbeat for creators at upbeat.io. Follow me on all social media platforms at High Heels and Lipstick Conversations for more inspiration, real talk, and sisterhood. And remember, keep your heels high, your lip bold, and your confidence even higher. Until next time, y'all, stay fierce, stay fabulous, and keep the conversation going. Smooches. See y'all soon.